Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Marion County Children's Services Agency podcast. My name is Elizabeth Moore. I'm the Foster Care and Community Engagement Coordinator. And here with me virtually today, I have two guests. So the way it works on my screen, Ben, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself first.
Sure. My name is Ben McCorkle. I'm an associate professor of English, and my home campus is Ohio State Marion.
Awesome. And Nicole.
Hi, I'm Nicole Patson, and I'm an associate professor of psychology, also at Ohio State Marion.
That's fantastic. And so some people may not question this, but some people might be wondering why I have you on today. And I'm honestly really excited because I feel like I don't necessarily know a whole lot about what the PALS, right? Mm-hmm. What PALS is. And so I'm really excited for you guys to share that. So I don't know who wants to kind of kick us off to talk about who you guys are representing today outside of Ohio State Marion.
Sure. I'll do a quick description of PALS, and then Ben, maybe you want to give us a little bit of the historical background.
Sure.
So PALS stands for Pride in Life Skills, and it is a program at Ohio State Marion that partners with Marion mentors, and we get college students to go out and mentor students in the Marion city schools. So students at OSU Marion are earning course credit to do this, and they can do so through independent study with either me or Ben in Psych or English. And they mentor for the semester, and most of our students will typically opt to mentor for multiple semesters because they build a good relationship and they want to hang on to that, right? So our job at OSU Marion then is to, what Ben and I try to do is make this more of a service learning type opportunity. So we get the students to reflect on what they're learning during the mentoring. So that's kind of the role we play.
Yeah, and they end up earning academic credit as part of that. So there's the community facing component, working with the littles as we used to call them back in the day, and then there's the academic side that usually takes the form of the reflection. This program has been around longer than we have. I started in 2005 at Marion, and Nicole,
wow.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah. I've been there a little bit. And Nicole, you started like 2012, I think, or 11?
2011.
Okay. Yeah. But PALS actually started in 2003.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's been around for, don't make me do math while we're being recorded, but it's been.
Especially because that's the year I graduated. So let's just leave that math aside.
But it had its genesis with two of our colleagues who have since retired, Ann Bauer in English and Dan Christie in psychology. And because both of these are 4-year programs at Marion, and both of these are also majors that have a commitment to service learning and outreach in the community in general, it made sense for these two colleagues to come together. And they ended up, at the time, it was Big Brothers Big Sisters, Cheryl Rhodes, and they started brainstorming and ended up putting together a grant proposal. And they ended up winning that grant proposal through OSU's Office of Outreach and Engagement. And so then PALS was started. And over the years, it's kind of changed hands. So Big Brothers Big Sisters originally, then Boys and Girls Club of Marion, and now I guess we're kind of under the umbrella of Marion Mentors with Aaron right now. So yeah, it's had a it's changed over the years. It's taken many shapes, but it's kind of remained steadfast over these years.
So I have a couple of questions. And first, I have a statement. First, if there were an award on my show for the number of times a person outside of my podcast was mentioned, Aaron Slater would win that award. So that's first. So the other thing is, you may have mentioned this, but do you have to be an English or psychology major to participate?
Nope. We'll take anybody. And we usually recruit. We usually do info sessions and stuff, and hopefully with the goal of bringing in people outside of English, outside of psychology. I think are committed to the idea that doing community service, doing mentoring ought to be the job of any student. You know, it should be an aspiration, I think, of anyone, regardless of their background.
Well, I agree so much with what you just said, that it should be an aspiration of really everybody. And I love some of the programs that are happening in Marion, thinking of like Leading Ladies and how they're teaching mentoring even at a very young age, that, you know, mentoring those who are younger than you. But I think as an adult, I really have started to appreciate having those mentoring relationships for myself, you know, and so I think the younger and younger that we can incorporate that, then we start to appreciate that, of course, more. So I love what you just said about that. I think that's so true. And I'll just throw this out there. If you are someone who's watching and you don't have a mentor, or you're not personally mentoring someone, there's so much enrichment that comes from a relationship like that. So I guess you've really talked a lot about what you guys do to serve Marion and what your roles are. Do you guys meet with the students yourselves, or how does that work? How do you guys interview process? I don't know, Nicole, if you want to kind of touch on that.
Yeah, we are pretty informal. So the students mostly communicate with us. So many of the students are students we know, because we've recruited them into the program based on performance in our class or other ways we've interacted with them. So that we don't have any, we haven't historically had any, face-to-face scheduled meetings. But I do talk to many of the students have been in my classes while they're mentoring. So I do check in on them, and then they write their papers for us and they kind of submit that online. We are planning though, we are talking about adding a little bit more structure into the program so that students will meet with us once during the semester. We had been talking about this before, but then the pandemic happened. Right, like everyone. Right. We were also dealing with that, and so we didn't want to add more to anyone's plate. Yeah. But next year, I think it looks like things are starting to settle down, and we're planning on doing that. That will give students a chance to also meet all of the other mentors and do a little bit more reflecting again on the experiences that they're having.
Yeah, hopefully building their own relationships in that too.
Exactly.
Does our psychology associate professor have any statistics or anything to say, like, what does mentoring do for someone?
Yes, Aaron has a lot of
question I should have asked you ahead of time.
I know, I would have looked them up. I don't have any statistics off the top of my head, and I know Erin, whenever she does, Erin Slater, whenever she does a presentation, she always has wonderful statistics to share. So we know that mentoring is very helpful, right? One thing that I would say from watching my own students, so not the littles as Ben called them, but the students who are serving as mentors, one of the things that I really get excited about and is the fact that I think it's often many of the students, it's their very first chance of seeing themselves in a leadership role and seeing themselves as a mentor and in that capacity, and recognizing themselves as like empathetic people, and they get really excited about that. I think every student I've had in the PALS program has said that meeting with their mentee is their favorite time during the week, that they look forward to it. And I think in part, I think about this a lot, like college is so difficult in so many ways, but one of the things that's so difficult is like you're constantly in this position of like not knowing what you're doing, right? Like you sign up for a class because you don't know anything about that topic. Like that's the whole point, right? And this is like an opportunity where they get to kind of feel like they really know what they're doing, and they didn't know that they knew how to do this. And that's really, so that's something, I don't have the statistics to back that up, but I would say that's something that I see, it really builds confidence for our students in ways that are just, it's so exciting. And I get pictures of them with their mentees. So they do develop these really close relationships, and it's just, you know, it's clearly beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, and I would just add, even though I'm not a psychologist, I've at least seen anecdotally like the long-term impact of mentoring in the Marion community. One thing I think it does is it introduces at least our students to another role that they can occupy. So, you know, as a member of a family, as a student in college, as a worker in a job, I mean, these things are commonplace, but thinking about yourselves as a member of a greater community is something that I don't think we often have the opportunity to truly engage in. And, you know, I don't want to name names, but like at OSU up until recently, when he retired, we had a person who worked there who benefited from being mentored as a child, grew up, got into the community, paid it forward. He himself participated in mentoring, and you know, you hope this cycle kind of continues over time, because I mean, it's one thing to you know, to hope that everyone is subject to like good parenting skills or good educational skills, but like just interacting with people in your community is something that I think we could all stand to you know, to do a little better.
Awesome. That's really good. I didn't even think about that. And that probably is a big time to get that first real experience of being in a community. So that's awesome. How would you guys say you guys, and this is probably not a really good question. I think what I had originally asked you is how would you say you partner with Marion County Children's Services, but I feel like a lot of that is probably through the Marion Mentors relationship also. But is there anything else that you guys can think of that we really need to make sure Marion knows that this is happening? Because I think this is super cool. I don't think I ever knew it existed, but I wasn't a psychology or English major. And so that's why I asked that question. But I think this is all awesome. And so what is it that we need to make sure Marion knows about this program?
Yeah, I think like you said that it exists. That's I think that's been the perpetual problem. If we have the challenge that we have to overcome is just getting out the word that the program exists, because we have you know, I have students who will come to me like very late on and they're like, oh man, I totally would have got involved earlier in this if I had known that it was an option. So, you know, so we're the word that you know, that if people in the community know students at OSU Marion, that this is, and they would make good mentors, this is an opportunity for them. Yeah, Ben, I don't know if you want to add.
No, I would totally echo that. I think, I mean, obviously, when this opportunity exists, I think the community at large should know about it. They should especially know about it in the sense that the way this was thought of in its inception was almost as a stopgap. You know, there are lots of young, you know, boys and girls in the community that can benefit from a mentoring relationship. The PALS program is a small scale mentoring program. It's the commitment is 1 hour per week. We know that there are students out in the community that can benefit from a lot more sustained mentoring over time. Hopefully our program, at least for some of our students, might provide kind of a launch pad for that. But if the community at large just knows that there's such a need for mentoring in the Marion area, then hopefully others will heed the call.
Great. Well, I had asked those of you if you would be important for people to receive mentoring or be a mentor.
Okay, Elizabeth, you froze on us for about the last 30 seconds. So ask that question again. You might want to go in and edit that part.
Yeah, well, and now it's saying, of course, that my internet connection is unstable. And so lucky for you guys, that was when I ask an unscripted question in my podcast. So I had said, Nicole, I already asked you a really hard one, but hopefully this one will be fairly easy for both of you guys. So what I'll do is I'll ask you the question, I'll talk for a second, and hopefully it will record well. We don't know. It's probably raining again here too, just like it has every day for forever. But what I'll do is I'll ask you guys the questions. I'll give you a minute to kind of think about it, and then we'll come back and let you answer them. So hopefully this isn't too hard of a question, but what is it for you guys personally? Because the thing is, like, yes, this is probably part of your role, but I feel like you have to have a passion for it too. And just talking to you guys for a few minutes here, as well as through the Mentoring and Marion Coalition, I can tell that you guys have a passion for it. So what is it about mentoring that gave you that passion to, obviously probably mentor your mentors to be better at this? So I'll give you a minute to just kind of think about that. If you I just want to echo what Ben said. If you know a student, maybe it was Nicole, I'll have to watch that. But if you know a student who is at Ohio State University Marion and they would make a good mentor, please let them know that this program exists and that they can get involved. If you are not a student at Ohio State Marion, but you think mentoring is important and you've heard some of these things and you don't know how to get involved, well, you probably haven't watched my podcast because, like I said, Erin Slater's been mentioned the most, and she has hands in a lot of different organizations that work with mentoring, including as the director of Marion Mentors. So that would be a great place to start if you think that you could be a good mentor for a student in Marion. And yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it. Ben, I'm going to let you first because I still feel really bad about asking Nicole that question.
Sure. I think I can answer that, and I'm pretty sure Nicole can too. But I see a strong connection between mentoring and educating. So in my role as an educator, I often have the opportunity not just to teach classes, but to interact with students in a way to help them, achieve their goals, to help them learn how to adult, to help them kind of succeed in hopefully in school and beyond. So it seemed only natural that, taking over the reins of a project like this, would fit into my wheelhouse. I would add too that, I like to connect my academic or my intellectual pursuits with my personal pursuits. As a scholar and a researcher, I do work in the field of rhetoric, which, as I've seen it historically, is about empowering people to become active citizens of their communities. And so maybe you're hearing a theme here, to have people know how they can make an impact on the world around them and know how they can pick up the tools and use the skills that will allow them to do that. And I think it's all of a piece. When I teach students how to write, or when I teach them how to create audio or video content in a computer lab, or go out into the world and interact with young students, it's all hopefully leading to the same place where they're going off to be good, responsible, ethically upright citizens of the world around them.
Awesome. All right, Nicole.
Yeah, so my excitement and enthusiasm for this program, I think it's two things. So I think first is my own experience with mentors. I was the first person in my family to go to college. So I benefited greatly from the mentors in my life, right? Because I had no idea what I was doing and would never have been able to, get through without the help of so many other folks. So I believe in mentoring. I believe that it's my job, having done that, to help other people, get them through as well, and teach them some of the lessons I learned along the way. I also, echoing Ben, one of the things I really love about being an educator at an undergraduate institution is that we are, we're helping people sort of, not that they aren't already adults in the world, but they are sort of transitioning from being, most of them, high school students to going off and being more independent. And it's such an exciting and probably terrifying time, right? I can admit I was terrified when I was going through it. But I really feel it's important to get them involved in as many activities as possible to kind of find out like what their strengths are, what their passions are, where they can have impact, and just even showing them that they can have impact, right? That is, I think, it's such an empowering thing for students. So I think that's where my passion for this program comes from.
Awesome. I love it. This is fantastic. I love so much of what you guys said. I feel like obviously mentoring is super important, but tying in that everything hopefully that we talk about anyway on the agency podcast is leading towards people who are helping make Marion just a better community in general. So thank you guys so much for both being on. If you have any questions about mentoring, I'll probably tag Erin Slater in this, or Marion Mentors, but we'll also get the Ohio State University Marion tagged on here. And if you have any questions about our agency, or if you have any ideas for future episodes of the podcast, I'll have my information down below. And as always, thanks for watching. Have a great week.